All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer on the Philippine Judicial Department. Today, we're going to uncover exactly how this specific branch acts as the ultimate referee of the government, maintaining balance not just at home, but on the very complex global stage. If you've ever wondered how the scales of justice are actually calibrated in a constitutional republic, well, you're in the right place. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll be moving step by step through the scope of judicial power, the rules of judicial review, protecting judicial independence, the Supreme Court, and finally, the global legal stage.
Section 1. The scope of judicial power.
Now, what is truly fascinating here is this expanded power. We're not just talking about settling standard, everyday disputes. The Constitution actually tasks the courts with determining if there's been a grave abuse of discretion by any branch or instrumentality of the government. This essentially acts as the judiciary's ultimate whistle. It empowers them to actively step in and say, whoa, hold on, if they see severe overreach or abuse of power by the executive or legislative branches.
Section 2. Rules of judicial review.
So because the judiciary has such immense power to referee the other branches, we absolutely have to ask the big procedural question. Exactly when are they legally permitted to blow that whistle? I mean, they can't just offer advisory opinions or sit around debating hypotheticals.
The crucial point is that courts can only exercise judicial review if four really strict requisites are met. First off, there has to be an actual, real-world case or controversy. You also have to raise the constitutional question at the earliest possible opportunity during the proceedings. And then, we need to break down those other two Latin terms, starting with locus standi.
Okay, locus standi simply means legal standing. You must have a direct personal stake in the outcome of the dispute to actually bring the fight to the referee. You have to prove that you have sustained or are in immediate danger of sustaining some kind of direct injury because of the government action. You can't just sue because you disagree with the law in theory. You need skin in the game.
Furthermore, we have lis moda. The constitutional question you bring to the court cannot just be a side note, right? It must be the absolute, unavoidable crux of the entire dispute. If the court can resolve the case on other non-constitutional grounds, they absolutely will. They only touch the constitutionality if it is the lis moda.
And this creates an ultimate boundary for the courts. On one hand, we have justiciable controversies regarding strict legality. Did the government break the law? The courts literally must step in here. But on the other hand is the political question doctrine. If an issue depends purely on the policy wisdom of the executive or legislative branches, like say whether a specific economic policy is a good idea, the courts absolutely cannot touch it. They judge legality, not wisdom.
Now, what if a case just fizzles out and gets resolved before the court decides? Usually, a moot case is dismissed. But there are exceptions. The court will still rule if there's a grave constitutional violation, if it involves paramount public interest, or if the issue is totally capable of happening again. Plus, the operative fact doctrine is super fascinating. If the court strikes down a law as unconstitutional, this doctrine basically allows them to validate certain past acts done under that unconstitutional law. It's done purely for practical fairness, recognizing that, hey, you can't always just erase the past.
Section 3. Protecting judicial independence.
To safeguard their independence from any sort of political retaliation, the judiciary enjoys complete fiscal autonomy. That means their budget cannot be reduced below the previous year's amount, and those funds, they must be automatically released. Furthermore, Congress can't just pass a reorganization law that threatens the justices' jobs, and the Supreme Court holds the exclusive power to discipline its own personnel.
So how do judges get their jobs in the first place? Instead of purely political appointments, we have the 7-member Judicial and Bar Council, or JBC. It's an interesting mix. 3 government ex officio members, 2 from the legal profession, a retired Supreme Court justice, and a private sector representative. They thoroughly vet candidates and recommend a list of at least 3 judicial nominees per vacancy to the president. This completely bypasses the standard commission on appointments, keeping things shielded from political horse trading.
We also have strict, objective qualifications to ensure competence. To even be considered for the Supreme Court, a candidate absolutely must be a natural-born citizen of the Philippines, and they must be at least 40 years of age.
Combine that age requirement with this critical number, 15. A candidate must have at least 15 years of experience serving as a lower court judge or practicing law in the Philippines. On top of that, they need a proven track record of competence, integrity, probity, and independence. No exceptions.
Section 4. The Supreme Court.
Let's look at the head referees themselves. The highest court is a 15-member body, unified under one Chief Justice who is supported by 14 Associate Justices.
But the court is highly adaptable. They can divide into nimble divisions of 3, 5, or 7 members to handle standard cases efficiently. However, they absolutely must sit en banc, meaning as the full, entire 15-member court when deciding heavy constitutional issues, reviewing treaties, or if they're going to modify any previously established legal doctrine.
And the Supreme Court's powers are incredibly vast. They have original jurisdiction over cases affecting ambassadors. They hold appellate review over major cases, like those involving life imprisonment or the legality of any tax or treaty. Beyond all this judgments, they have the exclusive power to write the rules for the entire practice of law, making sure there's legal assistance for the underprivileged. Plus, they maintain total administrative supervision over all lower courts and their personnel. It is a massive job.
Section 5. The Global Legal Stage.
Let's zoom out for a second. A foundational global rule is pacta sunt servanda, which basically means agreements must be kept. This principle places massive diplomatic pressure on the Supreme Court. Whenever the court exercises its power to review an international agreement signed by the executive branch, the entire world is watching to see if the Philippines will actually honor its word.
Because invalidating a treaty could put the entire state in breach of those global promises, the Constitution brilliantly mandates that this isn't just left to some small division. Only the full Supreme Court sitting en banc carries the heavy authority to make that momentous decision, really emphasizing the gravity of state obligations under international law.
So the ultimate takeaway here is that an independent, well-structured judiciary does way more than just keep domestic peace. It guarantees to the world that the Philippines is a credible, competent forum for handling transnational disputes, enforcing foreign arbitral awards, managing extradition, and upholding treaties like the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. It signals that the state's legal system is strong, impartial, and reliable.
Wow, we have covered a massive amount of ground today, seeing exactly how the judicial department functions as the ultimate referee of the land. Now, looking at that fascinating intersection of domestic and international law, what specific area of Philippine political or international law would you like us to tackle in our next explainer? Should we dive into Article 2 declarations, the law of the sea, or maybe the Visiting Forces Agreement? Let me know, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.